Salutations, my fellow dudes and dudettes, and welcome back to The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. Last time, we climbed this big old mountain within a span of 10 minutes or less, or your meal is free. I don't know why I'm saying that. But now, we are going to be exploring the 7th dungeon of the game, Eagle's Tower. Now, I'm just going to give you the heads up right now. If you're only here for the commentary and you're trying to do the dungeon before following alongside me, I'm gonna warn you, this is like the most complicated dungeon in the game. And that even includes the next one, and for what it's worth, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because there's an actual like puzzle throughout the entirety of this dungeon. It all revolves around this ball right here. For you see, this Eagle's Tower is a tower. It's got a lot of floors. Okay, not that many. It's got like four. I want to say four floors. So it's not too big, but here's the problem. You actually cannot logically get to the end of the you can't logically get to the top of the tower, because for some reason a good chunk of it is actually blocked because of how this dungeon is structured. So what you need to do, you already saw me destroy that one pillar. There are 4 pillars in all that you need to be able to destroy in order for you to progress, complete this dungeon. And this knight, I guess, being kind of annoying. But yeah, that's the main, that is the main gimmick with this dungeon. You gotta be able to destroy all 4 pillars, and it's not as simple as just finding the pillar and throwing the ball at it. It's a matter of how do you get the ball to where the pillar is so you can destroy it. That's the real challenge. And for what it's worth, this dungeon does make you think a good degree. So I'll give it at least that amount of credit. Not to mention, it's also quite dangerous. There's a lot of enemies that'll tear you up if you're not prepared for it. Also, I got a fairy in a bottle because, I don't know, I wasn't doing anything with that bottle anyways. Actually, I wasn't doing anything with any of those bottles, because for what it's worth, I haven't died at all, which is good, because there's an extra little scene at the end if you don't die. Which I guess is why they added those secret medicines to the last dungeon. And just a quick heads up, there's also one of those in this dungeon and the last dungeon. At least the last real dungeon. Alright, so now that we managed to destroy the second one, I would just have to carry the ball alongside there. I haven't commented on this yet, but I think the remaster, I don't think I did anyway. I need something to talk about, especially since I didn't bring it, the specific thing up last part. So the remastered soundtrack is actually pretty good stuff. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. Again, Angler's Tunnel was fantastic, but we were just listening to Tai Tai Heights, probably the best song in the game. From a general audience, and it sounds pretty darn good in this remake. I think it's actually really stellar. I don't blame you for not wanting to be able to go back to the original, because I can only imagine that beeps and boosts will utterly annoy you in this day and age. But who knows, I could be totally wrong about that. You might find some level of charm in those original pieces. Yeah, like I said, this dungeon's very hard and quite long. And for some reason, baffling reason, the boss is a complete joke. And I'm actually kind of lost, because I think I sort of made a mistake. So we're just going to go down here, and there are little Moldorps and Peahats Yeah, they just sort of splatter a whole bunch of enemies all over the place in this dungeon. And is that Kirby from Kirby's Dream Land? Yeah, apparently I think the enemy's name in the manual is actually called Anti-Kirby. Assuming there's a manual with enemy names, I don't remember. I never actually owned a physical copy of the original game, but anyways, that is called the Anti-Kirby, and just like Kirby, it'll suck you up and spit you back out. Thankfully, it's only Dreamland Kirby, not Kirby's Adventure Kirby, because then we'll have a maniac, psychotic, because then we would just have a psychotic Kirby running throughout this dungeon with a sword in hand. If you, well, with what little hand Kirby has. Oh, by the way, there's also a few returning mini bosses. Yeah, they're not much. I mean, I think that red one is obviously a stronger variant of the original orange one we fought all the way back in Bottle's Grotto. Yeah, remember that guy? And they're gonna be reappearing again in the next dungeon. So just be mindful of that. Now, like I said, this dungeon is very complicated because you got these 4 pillars, which is the main foundation of the dungeon, or at least the main objective of the dungeon. And you got this one, and you got a few crystals, jewels you also have to smack, or to raise and lower the platforms accordingly, because otherwise you're just going to get stuck a number of times. And there's also that. You have to fall down specific holes to get to certain parts of the dungeon. Granted, you only have to do this for 2 collectibles, one of them being a secret seashell. And we'll be getting to the other one later, because there's actually another chest on the other side. And you get down, and you get to the chest via the same method. You fall down a pitfall, and you will eventually find your way to the you'll be able to get to the chest. Oh, we got some new enemies here. Oh, finally, I was running out of things to talk about. Those are called Gibdos. They're mummy-like enemies that have super armor. They don't take very long to die. Well, I guess since I have the Koholint sword, maybe it might take a bit. Yeah, I think it takes like 6 slashes to defeat those guys. And since they have super armor, they sort of just take your hits like a champ, so you want to be careful, because if you're too close when you're trying to attack them, I think it's best you use like an arrows or bombs, or the boomerang that we got earlier in our adventure, or to take them out, because otherwise you run the risk of taking damage. I don't think they hurt too much, at the very least. Even without the blue tunic, I think they're okay. I would say you could set them on fire, but we don't have a way to set them on fire. Because that's how they're quickly dispatched in Link to the Past. You use the fire rod in that game, you set them on fire, and they instantly die. I think they always dropped a magic potion when you did that too, to boot. So that was cool. Also, I just gotta say, I actually like how this dungeon looks. I don't know, unlike most of the dungeons in this game where, I don't know, the aesthetic wasn't really... I wasn't too into the aesthetics. This dungeon actually looks really nice. I say that, but Angler's Tunnel is still better. I'm sorry, I can't help it. I love that dungeon. It's so beautiful. We got another room where tiles start attacking you, because that apparently wasn't drawn out and boring the last time we did it. Because you could just stand here, use your shield, and these guys can't do anything about it. They might be able to hit you from the side, even if you're guarding, because you know you're guarding your front line. You're guarding the front, not the side. Whatever. No, it's funny. During my test playthrough, this dungeon actually took me quite a while because I didn't realize that I could actually blow up that wall. Because there are notable cracks in the walls, which is actually funny because I believe it was I think it was Key Cavern where the game tried to encourage you to just start to poke at some suspicious walls. But with this one, it's just kind of like, it's just a cracked wall. It makes you wonder what the point of it was. And once again, I'm lost. Yeah, I sort of preemptively did something I should have done so a little earlier, but yeah, this dungeon's not. I guess my only advice to you for this dungeon is, whenever you see a pillar, immediately make that your next objective. Like, don't worry about anything else. Also, we got the mirror shield. The mirror shield reflects projectiles, so that's cool. Unfortunately, it's not like Link to the Past, where it's actually necessary in order to get through the dungeon. In fact, there's only a few enemies that actually shoot lasers in this dungeon. And the only reason, and you're probably wondering, well, why would you need it to progress? Because unfortunately, on the way to the final dungeon, there is an obstacle we have to get through that requires the mirror shield. And it only happens once, which is really silly. It's kind of like the problem that we had with the Blue Rooster. We just needed to get over a couple gaps, and then once we got to the dungeon, we didn't need it anymore. Ugh. Not to mention, we used a power bracelet level 2 and all. I mean, maybe we use it for the ball, because it might be heavier than other things we've had to use in previous dungeons, but I don't know. This is I guess this is the point of the game where the items become a little not very useful, because like, we're obviously using the rock's feather a whole lot. The power bracelet, obviously, is we gotta pick up a bunch of crap, because Link is just too darn frail to pick up anything without it. I guarantee you those pots are not that heavy, Link. You can do it in Link to the Past. Why can't you do it here without a power bracelet? Sacrilege. With Key Cavern, there was, I'm actually drawing a blank with Key Caverns for some bizarre reason. Oh yeah, the Pegasus Boots. Yeah, like, you use the Pegasus Boots to just get through areas faster. You don't use it for its actual intended purpose, which is to get over larger gaps. Well, I guess, yeah, to get over large gaps. Because we use the hook shot for all that stuff now. You just use it to run really fast when you're able to. Because most of the time you just find yourself colliding with a wall and you're just like, oh, that was pointless. Dungeon 4, there was the flippers, which was only really useful in order in the dungeon and to get to Catfish's Mall. And not much else. With with the face shrine, with Catfish's Mall, we got the hookshot, which was actually quite useful, and it still is. In fact, it's the reason why the Pegasus Boots is not as useful anymore. And with the dungeon afterwards, we got the level 2 power bracelet, which you only use to push the thing in the beginning in Mabe Village in order to get to the chicken. And then with this dungeon, you get the mirror shield, which reflects magical lasers, basically, but that doesn't really come up at all. In fact, it comes up more often in the next dungeon rather than this one. I guess logically, you could have just flipped the two items, It's like have the mirror shield in the next dungeon, and have the item you get in that dungeon in this dungeon. Especially concerning the fact that the mirror shield was in Turtle Rock in Link to the Past. It was in the last dungeon. I think it just gave away with the last. Whoops. That was dumb. Yeah, it's Turtle Rock. Exactly how it was in Link to the Past. But we'll get to that in a couple parts. And as I said, we don't have much left of this game to go. 24 parts this LP ended up being. With all the recording sessions I've done anyway. Like, once I added them all up, it equaled to 24. I was like, alright, cool. That's not too bad. Alright, now that we managed to find the last pillar, we can knock this down, and that should lower the tower. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Even if you were able to get to the top of the tower, like outside of it, you couldn't get to like the tippy top because that ladder was too high, even for your Rock's Feather. But now that we managed to lower that, we can actually finish we can finish the rest of the dungeon. I'm sorry if I'm like tripping over my words and stuff, but as we're getting closer to the end of this game, I'm slowly starting to run out of things to talk about, and it's really disheartening when that happens to me. I suppose I should probably explain why I wasn't showing off those special effects with the chamber dungeons. I explained them in a previous part, but I should probably explain why I'm not using them here. I don't feel like they add enough to the chamber dungeons to even I don't think they add enough to the chamber dungeons on their own. Again, if you weren't so limited with the chamber dungeons themselves, then I probably would have been more interested in trying out some of those effects, preferably the bomb one. Only because I think that's more like they drop a whole bunch of exploding bombs all over the place, which makes the chamber dungeons a little more threatening. Only just a little more, because it's all an amalgamation of all the dungeons you've done up to that point. And if you manage to breeze through those dungeons, then you're probably going to breeze through the chamber dungeons. Not to mention, throughout this playthrough, I've been showing the most efficient way to get through the chamber dungeons, at least that I know, from my playthroughs, or playthrough. Alright, boys, get this punk out of my face. Alright, so we got a mini-boss here. Basically, all this dude is gonna do is summon a whole bunch of weird fly things. Make sure you kill them all, that's it. If you do not manage to successfully kill all of them, he'll just respawn the entire flock. So don't leave any one of them alive, otherwise you're gonna have to just deal with them all again. I am standing in fire. And ouch. And now we got the boss key. I'm not sure what the point of that mini-boss was. Especially concerning the fact that what goes down rather quickly. Now, as I mentioned, there is a secret medicine in this dungeon. If you see... Sorry about that. There's a chest in the top right section of this area. Oh wait, am I showing this off? I don't think I do. Yeah, I'm just like doing I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah. In case you're curious, that chest has a secret medicine. So if you ended up using yours before you got here, make sure to pick it up on your way out. I'm not showing it off because I already have one. I'm not going to hold back. I'm going to make you wish you were never born. And we got a giant bird. I mean, the statue out in the mountain area, the Evil Eagle. That's a boring name. That's the other thing. This game's got really boring names for enemies. Alright, so the Evil Eagle is actually pretty simple. For one, he's gonna blow gusts of wind with his wings alongside his quills. He's also gonna try to attack you with his talons. And whenever you do that, and whenever he does that, try to slash at the eagle to interrupt him, and you can get multiple hits in before it tries to get away. As a matter of fact, it's dead. My energy gone, lost. But you will be lost. You will be lost too. If the windfish wakes, same as me, you are in his dream. Yeah, it's actually, like I said, he's gonna try and blow quills at you, maybe attack you with his talons. There might be another attack he does, but it didn't last long enough for me to worry about anything. So yeah, that's so weird. It's like Link to the Past had some challenging bosses, but this game's like none of the bosses put up a fight. Maybe Facade, because of like all the pitfalls that could appear, but otherwise, yeah. Okay, actually no, Slime Meal is probably the most threatening, and that includes the next one we're gonna be doing later. So it's like this game's actually really easy. Especially considering the fact that I did say Eagle's Tower is the hardest dungeon in the game, including the last one, but only because you actually have to think about certain things. The music of the ocarina leads. And I guess that'll do it for Eagle's Tower. I managed to do it in record time, so that's awesome. Because again, I was running out of things to say. Again, I apologize for that. But anyways, next time on The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, we're gonna head to the we're gonna head towards the final dungeon of the game. So until then, I get a juice. Yeah.